Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. You're all very fortunate, privileged, and I would like to congratulate all of you for your advancement in Krishna consciousness. Reason being, आज इंडिया पाकिस्तान मैच हो रहा है, लेकिन आप सब यहाँ पे बैठे हो. Put your hands together for yourself. Without srilaprabhupada's teachings and guidance.
आप घाव पे नमक छिड़क रहे हैं.
It's a fanboy moment for me to sit next to Amitasana Prabhu, who has mentored me, guided me. So Amitasana Prabhu, I'm a little nervous, little overconfident that I know you, simultaneous, mixed emotions. Generally, whoever comes to this frankly speaking episode, we generally start with their childhood experiences. So what was your childhood like a typical Indian who were born and brought up in a middle-class family? Or you had some interest in Krishna consciousness right from the beginning? You got the calling, yeah, मैं बड़ा होके, शायद, very rare hope that, inclination that I might, because Kurukshetra is where you're brought up, Bhagavad Gita, place of recitation. Or it was after coming in touch with Hare Krishna Movement, ISKCON, devotees, your life took a turn and you also took up Krishna consciousness seriously like most of us here. Prabhu.
I was like a very ordinary person, a very normal person, not at all spiritual. And my childhood days, I don't remember very consciously seeking spirituality or fond of going to temples. But I fondly remember when we were quite young, my father was president of one temple committee. And every Janmashtami, there used to be some sadhus visiting for about a week. And we used to host them in our homes. And I very fondly remember, I used to love serving the devotees.
Hari Bol.
Some of you would have heard about Sadhvi Ridhambara. She is very famous. She has come many times. She was very young that time. I'm talking about 40 years, 50 years back. She has come many times to our place and we have served them and we have spent time with them. Her guru, who is no more now, he also used to come. And I remember having attended their pravachans and deeply moved by what they were speaking, some of the content. I was very young at that time, but it had a profound impact when they were talking about Atma, they were talking about, spiritual activities and things like that. Otherwise, by and large, I was a very quote-unquote a normal human being, getting attracted to sense objects, like a normal person.
What about your siblings? They were also similarly inclined because three of you, and much about your siblings and your family, your father and mother, if you can share something which inspired you as a child.
So my parents, my mother especially is very, very pious woman, very religious woman. And I'm very blessed that I've got such wonderful parents, such wonderful brothers. We all, even when I took to Krishna consciousness, naturally any father, mother or siblings would have concerns. They had concern with respect to whether I am joining the right organization because dam maro dam, mit jaye gam. Typically ISKCON had that reputation in those days. People are smoking, drinking marijuana and all that thing and chanting Hare Krishna. But otherwise, they were very supportive, very religious, and never objected never came in my way. I come from a very supportive family, supporting each other, never talking ill about each other.
Because they would be watching this. If you want to say something to them right now, if you can remember and thank them, that would be.
Yeah, I know that this episode will be watched by them. My mother especially is very, very great woman. Even till date, whenever she calls, unfortunately, I'm not able to take her call on time or respond on time. And the next time, whenever I speak, maybe after a week, imagine 2 missed call, and after a week I end up speaking. Sometimes I feel guilty. But she would say, बेटा अगर याद आ जाए तो थोड़ा कर लिया करो फोन. या बेटा तुम बता दे किस टाइम पे करना है, हम उस टाइम पे कर लेंगे ताकि आपको डिस्टर्बेंस ना हो. So I feel little embarrassed. But their support has been very, very great. Today, even though I am not able to execute my responsibilities in terms of talking to them, in terms of asking about their welfare, but deep within I have great gratitude for whatever they have done for me and the sacrifices they have done for me.
Your parents are from Haryana, and here you mentioned you're born in Assam. So what's Assam and Haryana link?
So my father was in a public sector, working with the Fertilizers Corporation of India. And so he was posted in Assam when I was born, way back in 1969. I was in Assam, I remember, till 4th class. So I have good memories of the place where I used to stay and what we did in childhood. And then subsequently we moved to Bathinda in Punjab. He was again in NFL, National Fertilizers Limited. And from 4th to about 10th, I was in Bathinda, and then Nangal, which is again in Punjab. My parents' hometown is Rohtak, which is in Haryana. On vacations, we used to spend a lot of time in Rohtak. So that's how I generally say that I am from Haryana, but otherwise born in Assam.
So Haryana is known for Pahlwans and Olympic gold medals. You didn't have the urge to be part of the sports or be a Pahlwan yourself, or your siblings, you had some fights, something like that. Just wanted to know more about your childhood in that sense, if you wish to share.
Fortunately, I became Pahlwan in some other... There is physical dimension, there is mental dimension, there is spiritual dimension. Maybe they wanted me to be a Pahlwan in physical dimension, but somehow, by Lord's grace, I'm sitting here, a different kind of Pahlwan, so-called Pahlwan.
Your siblings were also well educated, from IIT and IIM. So there was a peer pressure for you to also to perform when they got to know about your decision to take it up. Just wanted to know about that. Sibling pressure, generally people handle because they compare each other's brothers and sisters, and that brings up a lot of pressure in the young minds. So how was your scenarios those days? In case you can share a few things, Prabhu.
My elder brother was very blessed. He passed out from IIT Bombay and he did his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. And his study table used to be next to me in one room. Both of our study tables used to be. And I consciously remember I used to study more than him. But his results were always better. And even though I used to study, somehow I was very, very playful. I remember even during exam times, I was not very serious in my studies, more so before the 10th. So never I had that kind of a pressure, and it was always accepted that yes, he is more intelligent, he is more brilliant, he is better than me, but never had any conscious, so to say, I have to catch up with him, why he is more getting better results than me. Never ever I had that kind of a feeling.
So you were Satvik right from the beginning, Prabhu.
I was not Satvik, but never got into that rat race of comparing and then trying to catch up with someone. Somehow that never happened.
So you were fortunate enough to be in your hometown or in Haryana itself. You got a computer science branch in NIT Kurukshetra or EC Kurukshetra those days. So what was your time like a typical engineer? Generally, most of engineers we study at fag end of a semester and hostel life. Something more about fond memories of your hostel life which you would like to share, which transformed or inspired for you to take up some element of Krishna consciousness if you feel so.
Somehow, in those days, it was not easy to get into good engineering colleges. Now we have a lot of engineering colleges. And as I mentioned, in childhood I was quite playful and not very serious in studies. So even it was doubtful for me to get into a good college. In those days, there was something called as capitation fee, where in South India, in some of the colleges, you can pay capitation fee and you can get admission in engineering college. So my father was mentally prepared for it. I remember we went to a temple just before my board exams. My father took me and I also went. Especially like typical people go for temples for asking for some boons, asking for some material benediction. And it was for good results in the 12th exam.
पास करा दे bro.
पास नहीं, थोड़ा और भी ज़्यादा.
मैं अपनी बात कर रहा हूँ bro.
And you won't believe, when this results came, it was on PCM, physics, chemistry and maths. On that basis, you get admission into NITs. I was number 1. I entered in that interview panel and the whole body was there. Generally, they have branches in different NITs. So they said, which branch you want, which college you want.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not glorifying myself. All I'm saying is the Lord had a higher plan. And because we were based out of Rohtak, Nangal, Kurukshetra was the nearest NIT, and I got computer science. And the very fact that now when you were introducing me, such a blessing that I got placed in NIT Kurukshetra, which is Dharmakshetra. But unfortunately, many of the divine spots where Krishna Lila happened, the place where Bhagavad Gita was spoken, I have not visited in the spirit of devotion. In the spirit of, just like people go, it's a place of pilgrimage, they go to that spot with reverence, with devotion, with some kind of spiritual mindset. It never happened. It was typical like any other college. And so it's all Lord's arrangement. He took me to that place, and that place maybe had an influence in my future becoming a devotee.
Bro, I remember in your college life, you shared one anecdote where you were supposed to, you ate a black rice, and that was something transformational. You often quote that in your classes and discourses.
So I used to quote this particular incident just to demonstrate that how when we all have so much and we don't at times feel grateful. We take things for granted. So it was during those times there was curfew, Operation Blue Star, and so there were curfew imposed in Kurukshetra. And for 3 or 4 days, the curfew was on, the mess was closed, most of the students had gone to their homes, and few of us were there in the hostel. And because the mess also was not operational, the canteen, I consciously remember one full day we had not eaten. But there was one nearby place in a village, where there was a small shop where we used to often go for taking tea, coffee and things like that, some snacks. So we somehow, because we were very hungry, got out of our room, although the curfew was there, and went to that place, somehow managed to buy some rice. And we have never eaten or cooked rice in the rooms. And typically in a hostel, you have those pans for making tea or boiling milk. And typically pans are very black because you don't clean them often. And pans use that heater coil, very crude heater coil. It's not a stove, it's not gas burner. So I remember having cooked the rice, never has cooked rice in my life. And eventually that rice, which was originally white in color, after it got cooked nicely, it became black in color. So you all have heard about red rice, you have heard about brown rice. I don't think you would have heard about black rice. And I remember having eaten that rice with relish because we were so hungry. But the time we finished, we started, what are we eating? So that incident I often quote just to say that when we don't have, we will value the thing. If we have it so easily, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is easily accessible to us, we don't value. So this is the example I quote to say that how we have to value things more so. When we lose them, we will understand the value.
In your college hostel, Prabhu, you shared a room with your roommates, two of them. One was very studious and the other one was happy-go-lucky. One would get up at 4 o'clock, the other would sleep at 4 o'clock. And some tragic events happened to one of them. What was that which you said in one of the discourse which triggered your spiritual upliftment later on when you came in touch with Krishna consciousness?
So it was not my roommate per se, although in some talks I have shared this incident. This was one my batchmate, close friend of mine. We had dinner together and somehow he said that I'm feeling feverish. I left him to his room and told him that please call me if you need any help. Gave him some medicine, paracetamol and all that. I remember that he was shivering, high fever. So some of my friends even went to his room and put some cold pack on his head and all that. And I came and slept in my room, attended to him for a while and gave him the medicine. One friend was attending to him. Morning I got the news that he is no more. Imagine 19-year-old person, for the first time in their life, someone who is very, very close, you getting the news. Because death all of us have heard about. But death of someone who is young, whom you have just met the previous night, and suddenly you have to handle the situation that is no more. And imagine we are in a hostel, no idea how to deal with this incident. The parents were called. In those days it was not like you book a flight ticket, next 2 hours you are there. Parents took 2 days to come. The body was kept in the hostel and then some common room. And so 2-3 days it was quite different experience. It shook up. In those days I was preparing for CAT. I started fundamentally questioning what is this life about. I am preparing for GRE and all that. I'll be abroad and one fine day I get to know that someone very close to me has died. What is life all about? And then I consciously remember we had gone to the crematorium, Shamshan Ghat, and then in the walls it was Ram Naam Satya Hai, Ram Naam Satya Hai, Ram Naam Satya Hai. And when the body also was being taken. So it had a very deep impact on me.
A Buddha moment for you.
Yeah, because there are some moments in life, every day we have different experiences, but some experiences have an impact, deep impact. So this is one of them. So that led me, I won't say that led me to Krishna consciousness, but it definitely had some question marks with respect to what is life.
So this was before you came in touch with Krishna consciousness,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So when was that point that you came in touch with Krishna consciousness? Was that in the college NIT, or it was later in Bangalore you came in touch with? Who was the devotee who got this diamond?
I'll just take 2 minutes. This is very important thing which I have shared again in many talks. This was in second year. In the hostel, we saw one poster, Can Machine Think? I was in computer science, so it was a topic, a seminar related to artificial intelligence. So our friends, we were talking among each other, chalte hain, sun ke aate hain, but we were not interested because too much technical stuff already we are hearing in college. But what aroused our interest was the speakers. One from IIT IIM, another one from, he had done his MS from MIT. So we were curious. What impressed us was the profile of the speakers. So we went there, we were eagerly waiting. Big seminar hall. And then our principals come on the stage and he says, Dear friends, dear students, it's our privilege to have these two eminent gentlemen with us. Please help me welcome so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And then comes the anticlimax. These two Swamijis walk up the stage. I still remember the first thought which came to my mind was, fail ho gaye honge. Or they wouldn't have passed. Or they would have got depressed. Or, somehow they would have lost steam, in that race, in that competitive world, they would have lost steam. That was my first thought. Then they came on the stage and imagine Swamijis in this exact dress, speaking in such good English, enthusiastically on a technical topic with such good command, with such good communication skills. I was thoroughly impressed. Not only me, everyone, pin drop silence. And I remember after the talk, everyone gathered around them. None of them may be interested in spirituality. Just because they were so impressed, they wanted to talk to them. And I don't remember what was the reason I had to leave that place. But that day, one question arose in my mind. And the question was, what is it that they know? उनको क्या पता है? क्या उन्होंने जान लिया लाइफ के बारे में कि in spite of having passed out from such big prestigious colleges and they're entitled for a big pay in whatever companies they work. They could be working in some big MNC companies. But what is it that उन्होंने क्या जान लिया, क्या समझ लिया लाइफ में कि उन्होंने वो सब कुछ साइड पे रखकर इस वेशभूषा को धारण किया है? Why have they become Swamijis? They were not depressed. They were from prestigious colleges. They were not, depressed. ऐसा क्या है? But I had no answer. This was in second year. It had an impact. Friend who passed away, that was I think in the third year. So slowly, gradually things were building up. Again, building up, not that I'm great, that Lord was working on me, but if I look back on the hindsight, maybe things were just panning out. So that led me towards spirituality. And in the final year, I think I got a little more involved. And luckily, one Swamiji joined our college. He used to come in this dress as a lecturer in our department. Again, he was MS from US and I was very close to him. He also joined, probably he wanted access to students.
You mean to say a professor
in this dress?
In this dress, teaching in NIT
in computer
Kurukshetra.
Science, in NIT Kurukshetra.
So you had a professor devotee. Wow.
Professor devotee, and everyone used to make fun. I remember in the college, when he would turn to write on the board, in those days it was a blackboard, people would throw chalk at him because his shika was there and they used to say, Juttu, Juttu, So, and like that. And when he'll turn back, everyone would laugh. Nobody will know who has thrown the stone. But deep within, I was very hurt. Okay, why are they treating him like that? He used to like me, I used to like him. So after college hours, we used to talk. He invited me to his center wherever he used to stay.
You had your folk guide in the college itself as a professor in that sense.
Yeah. So that was also a great blessing. He gave me some books. He used to bring some prasadam. So whenever I would go and meet him, he would give prasadam. So that happened.
So later, after passing out, you got placed in Kirloskar in the campus itself. Then you moved to Bangalore. From Haryana to Bangalore, your parents allowed you to travel. And what was the scenario?
Before that, I would like to mention one more thing, which
Yes.
I don't think I have shared in many forums. What strengthened my faith in Krishna consciousness? So there was one devotee. He had done his MBBS in India and has done his MD in the US. He was a doctor there, Indian bodied. And he had become a devotee and he had come to India. He was heading the Kurukshetra center at that time. So one day he invited me to stay in the center. I had gone for the Sunday program, and then after the Sunday, it was not like typical big temple where hundreds of people are coming. Some 5-6 people had come, small center. So I attended the program, and then he asked me, why don't you stay overnight? We have some staying facility. Why don't you stay overnight? Just like here we have some folk boys staying this thing. So I reluctantly agreed because our hostel was about 5 kilometers from that place, that center. It was late in the night, about 9:30 or so. And he invited me to stay overnight. So we went to the terrace. In typical, a lot of people sleep on the terrace because open air, fresh air, and summer season, it's quite cool with breeze, cool breeze. So we went there, and he had a bed which every day he used to sleep, and next to that bed he had arranged another bed for me. And we slept. In no time, in 5 minutes, I started hearing him snore. And now the best part is, there were a lot of mosquitoes. And I could not sleep. 2 reasons. Mosquitoes on this ear. And we slept at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Both are competing. But one thing I saw, they say after every 90 minutes हम लोग करवट बदलते हैं. It's called REM stage of sleep, technical जो language में. So this devotee, he was sleeping, he was deeply snoring, deep in sleep, and जब करवट बदलते थे, he would get up. I was not asleep because I was awake, mosquitoes were troubling me, I was not able to sleep. Whenever he would turn, he would say, and then whenever he would wake up, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna. Till 1 o'clock in the night, 2 or 3 times it happened like that. You see, when we are awake, we can do a lot of drama. We can wear nice dress, tilak, nice tilak. We can pose like nice sadhu. We can... lot of drama is going on. Difficult to find out who is genuine, who is not genuine. But who can do drama while sleeping? So that strengthened my faith that this person is genuine. And You see, when a person is awake, you can really put up a show. You can really put up a show. But this person, I really got attracted. And from that day onwards, my faith in him, the faith in what he was saying, the organization which he was part of, the philosophy what he was speaking, it increased tremendously. And that was again a turning point for me.
Were you chanting at that time, or you were introduced to Srila Prabhupada books, or you just had a one or two meetings with someone who came to the college to have a presentation, or someone called you for a love feast, or it was just a superficial come and go like a folk boy who typically comes, or you were deeply into Krishna consciousness, like chanting and reading was also part of your spiritual life, bro?
I was fond of meditation. I don't know what led me to meditation. I remember having done candlelight meditation, burning a candle, trying to watch it. I have, I think, shared this also. One time, I had a very bad day in college. I was scolded in the class and I was very disturbed. So they say that, when the mind is agitated, you can do meditation to shant hone ke liye. So I went to my room, switched off all the lights, burnt a candle, and then I was staring at the candle, doing that meditation. Somehow the mind can get quietened. I can find the peace because I was very disturbed. Then 10 minutes passed, 15 minutes passed. Simultaneously, I was saying, am I getting relaxed? Am I getting, shant? But somehow, I remember consciously, mind was still agitated. Not big difference to the mind after having spent 15 minutes watching the candle. But big difference happened to the candle. That full candle, which in those days used to cost 5 rupees, that became 2.5 rupee candle. So I think I discontinued that meditation. And since I was fond of meditation, when I came in touch with the devotees and they gave me the mala and I started chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, I could see a big difference. That meditation I could sustain. Even at times, even at days when I was disturbed, I was not able to focus, my mind was quite agitated. But this chanting still had an impact on me, even at a very physical and a mental level. So initially when we come, we are not that we want to go to Vaikuntha or we want to go to the spiritual world. We want pure devotion. Initially everyone gets attracted, they want peace of mind or for some material motive. So same is the case. In my case, at times you get agitated, you want some peace, you want some this thing. So I started meditation with that purpose. But Hare Krishna Mahamantra was very effective even from material peace point of view. And I continued that.
So you were doing meditation on one end and you were chanting Hare Krishna simultaneously. Were you reading Krishna
No, I
Prabhupada?
think meditation, I started off with meditation, but it didn't last because I couldn't sustain it. As I mentioned about that candlelight, my mind was still agitated. And it was quite expensive meditation.
5 rupees candle.
That way, it's not costly in that sense. So, and I remember that meditation, this chanting, once I started, I think I never left it. It's still continuing. And
so Haryana se NIT Kurukshetra said you have to come to Bangalore. So you were placed in the campus, or how you got a job in Kirloskar, how it happened?
No, I was not placed in the campus. Again, it is Lord's intervention, I would say. I had some dream companies which I was looking for. I did not get selected in that. And just like I mentioned about me getting into NIT Kurukshetra, I was among the top 5 in my branch. All above me and about 8 of them below me got placed in the campus. Generally in campus there is some rule that if you get a job in one company, you cannot apply for another companies because they want to give chance to everyone. Since I had some dream jobs, I consciously did not apply in some companies, and hence I didn't get selected. And the companies which was dream jobs for me, 2 of them did not come to the campus, and one who came, I could not get selected into that. So fortunately or unfortunately, you call it, when I passed out, I was not having a job. One of my uncles, my Mamaji, was placed in a very, very big MNC in Bangalore. And that's how he said, okay, why don't you come to Bangalore? It's a silicon city of the country. And there are a lot of IT companies. You come over here, and that's how I came to Bangalore.
So you came to Bangalore and started working in that company. Then when did you...
Not in that company. I would like to share
yeah, please,
here.
please.
Sorry, I'm interrupting on this. This again is very interesting. I got a job in a company which was about 25 kilometers from the ISKCON temple. 25 kilometers. I had got introduced in Kurukshetra, and then I landed up in Bangalore. I remember having worked one particular day till 6 o'clock in the office, had to change 2 buses, and by the time I reached the temple, after having traveled the 24 kilometers, I reached at around 8:15 in the evening. And then the Shayan Arti was, Sandhya Arti and Shayan Arti was going on. I don't remember the exact time. Then I prayed to the Lord, कि ऐसा कैसे होगा? Company is there, and if I have to come to the temple for darshan, travel for 25 kilometers and change 2 buses, ऐसा कैसे होगा? And I wanted to, because already had some connection with Krishna consciousness. Then one day in the office, a colleague of mine said that, have you applied for this job? This was Kirloskar's ad. And he was also very, smart. In that ad, it was written, last day for application is 25th of Feb. And he's showing me this ad on 28th Feb. So then I asked him, have you applied? He said, yes. He said, you should have told me earlier. He said, I'm sorry. Have you applied? He asked me. So I said, no. The last date of application is over. And I applied. I sent an email and I applied. I knew last date is over, no call will come, and I'm disqualified already. I got a call. And although I have appeared for many interviews and have done exceptionally well, spoken quite well, answered all technical questions, this interview, I fared very badly, even technically. And they asked me, what is your salary? So I said, some figure. They said, but in your resume, you have written something else. And that one person became very angry at me. He said, you're trying to cheat us? You're trying to cheat us? You've written something, you're saying something else. No, I don't mean so. See, this is what it means. This is CTC, this is take home. That's why there's a difference. No, don't try to cheat us. And that person scolded me, and technically also I couldn't answer that question. I said, I'm gone. Last date, I have applied late, and this technical round is bad, and they are scolding me because on integrity issues and all that. So no chance of it. And next day I'm seeing I get an offer letter. Now, this company, Kirloskar's, was 200 meters from ISKCON Bangalore temple.
Haribol!
Where you see this metro in Bangalore, Brigade Towers metro, that is where Kirloskar's was there. Every day, without fail, for the time I have worked, at 6 o'clock I used to walk out of the company, 6:10 I used to be in the temple. It was Lord's arrangement. Again, I am not great, but it's causeless mercy of the Lord. He made that arrangement. Where He took me to Bangalore, why I didn't get so-called dream jobs, took me to Bangalore, placed me in a company where again I could walk out of my company at 6 o'clock. Software industry, sometimes the work pressure is very high. But I could walk out from my company every day without fail at 6 o'clock. I was in that temple doing some seva.
Since you were very close to temple, you would visit regularly, as you said. How would you travel? And remember fondly, Prabhu, you mentioning about a scooter instance where the scooter breaks down and come what may, maybe in your terms, pan out or will of the providence, or you were shortlisted for the seva of the Lord. What was it all about, Prabhu?
Somehow I feel I am not very special. I am nothing great. But things happened which were very, if I look back in the hindsight, I become emotional. So one day it so happened, I was in the temple. I used to go every day. And because I was staying with my mamaji, with my uncle, they had a small child, my cousin. So since I am staying in that place, I'm duty bound. I'm obligated to do something for them also. It's not that just I go only for eating and sleeping. You know, when you're staying with someone, you have certain duties. So they told me that, why don't you help in the homework? Help him in the studies. He was very young. He was in 3rd class or something. So that expectation was there from me. So one day I came to the temple and I asked, I was just leaving from home, and that one devotee he was in charge of the incense Goloka. We had just started that time. So he was rolling the agarbatti, and next day some shipment had to go, so there was some urgency. So he asked me, can you please help? So I gave some excuse. I said, nahi, thoda ghar mein jaldi jana hai, I have to go. So he said, no, half an hour, 45 minutes, little urgent. I said, no, I have to go. So I excused myself and left. I had a scooter parked outside the temple. I went outside, I kicked the scooter. Kick means not kick like that. Kick the thing to start. Those days it was not automatic ignition. It would not start. 1 time, 2 time, 5 minutes. And then luckily ISKCON Bangalore is on top of a hill. All of you know who have driven 2-wheeler. I don't know, it happens now also. Thoda dhakka dete hain to chal jati hai gaadi. So scooter also, if you push and then you put on gear, then it can start sometime. So I came down the hill, the scooter was getting accelerated, and put it in the gear. Again it won't start. Then reached the bottom of the hill. CPP was coming in the car. He said, Amit, where are you going? So I said, going home. He says, why don't you stay overnight? Because late in the night, 8:30. No, I'll go home. Still, I had hope that scooter will start. So, went down, opened the bonnet, opened the spark plug. Everyone is an engineer, so especially in India, we do a lot of engineering. So, opened the spark plug, cleaned the plug, again fitted it back, again started. Again, it won't start. And it was too late now to go to any shop because 9 o'clock, all the shops. So with lot of this thing, I started back, coming up the hill, dragging the scooter. Imagine taking the scooter up the hill. So somehow pushed, reached the top of the hill. So I parked the scooter and the devotee said, come, Amit, come.
Intense.
He made me sit. And for 45 minutes, I'm rolling the batti.
Intense burning desire of the devotee.
So I rolled the way, but deep within, I was not happy. I said, what is it? Jabarasti kar rahe hai to. And I slept. After doing that seva, I slept. Woke up in the morning, Mangalarti, then till 7 o'clock did the chanting. And then I came out of the temple. I thought at around 8 o'clock in the morning, before I go to the office, I will take it to the mechanic shop, somehow, drag that scooter and get it repaired and then go to the office. Around 8:15, I came out of the temple. First thing which came to my mind, first thought, I said, wait a minute. In the scooter, inside the dicky, there is a switch. Just for safety purpose, that switch can be on or off. And if it is off, the scooter will not turn on. First thing, even before making the first kick to start the scooter, the thought came, opened the dicky, checked the switch, I put it on. First kick, the scooter started. Now, what do I say? Who made me forget that the switch was off the previous night and tried different things? Tried, spark plug, going down the hill, and then devotee saying, why don't you stay overnight? The devotee saying, do some seva. So if I look back, Krishna says, from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So these are all small things. It's a small thing. It's not a big thing. But, when we look back, we say philosophy. Krishna is not just there as Krishna is sentient. He has feelings. He is thickly involved in our lives. He is watching us. These small instances drive home that point and make you feel, Krishna consciousness is very, very practical.
Prabhu, similar to that instance where you got your salary and you were fond of a brand of shoe you want to purchase, maybe worth 2,000 rupees, and you also had an intention that you wanted to contribute to the temple, and there was a dilemma in between. The hundi was there right in front of you, and should I put the money or should I purchase? How did you overcome that dilemma, and what would you suggest those who want to do it for the Lord, share Lakshmi for the Lord's service?
So I had decided when I was earning money working with Kiloskars that I will give 25% of my salary to the temple. I had decided in my mind. But 25% is quite a big amount. Imagine those days salary was less, but imagine somebody, a software engineer, getting a lakh of rupees, 25,000. Prabhupada says 50%. So I remember first time when I got the salary, I came to the temple, I had cash in my hand, and I decided that 25% I have to put in the hundi. And because, those days I remember, the shoes was not shoes, and these different brands, what we see, Nike, Puma, Reebok, all that was not so easily available. There was one Palika Bazaar in Delhi. All this foreign brand shoes and all used to be available there. That too also not they were smuggled from this thing. It was not like typical brand store, Puma store or a Nike store. Always had a dream, a longing to buy such branded shoes. I was good in sports, so I still remember Reebok shoes. Reebok is a brand. And they were expensive. Reebok shoes in those days, the one which I wanted costed 2,000 rupees. So I went to the temple with the first salary and I had committed the 25% I will give. So I had cash in my hand. I went to the temple, went near the hundi. I was about to drop that money in the hundi. It took me about 3 to 5 minutes. Hand was shivering. And mind was giving reasons. next salary, not this one. This time you can buy the shoes, maybe twice. इकट्ठे दे देंगे 2 महीने का installment. The mind gives lot of reasons. And I still remember, hand is shaking, dilemma, should I put the hand and withdraw it? And then finally that good sense prevailed on me and the money went inside.
What happened to you after that when it was offered? You felt good about it or you felt, yeah, chala gaya?
चला गया. नहीं, चला तो गया. लेकिन one thing I would like to share with all of you, बहुत लोग बोलते हैं ना भक्ति मन में है, भक्ति दिल में है. Finally, it all boils down to practical action. Although 2,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees is nothing for Krishna, 25% of salary is nothing for Krishna. The whole Jagat, whole universe belongs to Him. The whole creation belongs to Him. But when we part with something which is very dear to us, that practical surrender or renunciation has a very, very big impact in our spiritual growth. Prabhupada also many times mentioned in his lectures, I am going to Vrindavan, but money, it's all for my wife and children. Money is dear to us. The whole world is running after money. So it is important that something which is very dear to us, something which is very, very, we are attached to, we have to give it to Krishna, surrender to Krishna, and then we can experience sweet reciprocation of the Lord.
Yes. Prabhu, when you were in Bangalore and you were frequently visiting temple and you were practicing Krishna consciousness seriously, what was the flash point or a turning point where you decided, no, enough of this, then let me dedicate my life to Srila Prabhupada's movement? Or there was a person who just said, "Bhai kar le yaar, kya hai?" Or what is the inspiration for you to do it?
So in those days, Stoka Maharaj, he was available in the temple. He was very accessible. And I remember whenever I would come in the evening, I would say, Prabhu, Stoka Prabhu that time, can I meet you for 5 minutes? Can I meet you? I have a question. He said, yes, please come. And at times that 5 minutes, I will spend 2 hours, and he would never say, I'm busy or I have some other commitment. He was always available, and I was very lucky. I have spent hours together, for days together with Maharaj, asking a lot of questions. Whatever questions I had, I would ask, and I had that good fortune of getting the answers from a devotee like Stoka Maharaj. So one day he asked me, why don't you join? So in my mind, although out of respect I did not say no, in my mind I said, no way. सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता. मैं साधु ऐसे थोड़ा होता है. So no way. I am an engineer. So sometimes you have not thought about it. It was all of a normal thing is, you become engineer, you go to a job, get promoted, you go abroad, you earn a lot of money and this thing. So that was the path I was treading. Although yes, spirituality also I was interested in. I was coming to the temple doing seva. So I was not prepared. And, my parents will not accept. So I said, I did not say no, but did not say yes. In my mind, it was that no way, not possible. Then one day I remember in the morning, I had come to the temple, I was going out. Chanchalapathi Prabhu met me on my way out of the temple. And he said, Amit, where are you going? I said, I'm going to office. So he, with a very emotional tone, typical of Chanchalapathi Prabhu, He said, life is too short. Life is too short. Just 2-3 words he said. And that had a very deep impact. And then indirectly he hinted, we should serve Krishna. Our energies should be used for service of the Lord. And then I think I started seriously thinking in direction of serving full time.
Okay.
And I used to attend his Sunday evening sessions after, the Sunday program. There used to be association in his office. All the devotees used to gather. And it was very, very enlivening, spiritually rejuvenating. And we all used to get very charged, attending to his association. So had great respect for him as a Vaishnava. So when he hinted, I very seriously started thinking in that direction.
So once you got this inspirations to do it, and eventually you had to do it, and you did it also. But when did you inform your parents? What was their reaction? And question. Third question, I remember after we had a frankly speaking episode with Sridham Krishna Prabhu also. Of course, that portion we had to crop where he says, I had to go along with Amitasana Prabhu to his house, and it's a circumstance which pitched in. Can you just share what was the reaction and why that was happening at that point of time?
So moment my parents came in, again it was not planned, it was not, so to say, scripted, that this is what I am going to speak. It just came automatically. Moment the parents came in, I started becoming angry at them for no reason. And then I said, how can you say that I am brainwashed on this thing? How can you say like that? I started shouting at them. They cooled down.
इससे पहले कभी नहीं किया था आपने शॉट?
कभी नहीं किया. Even I don't know how I did it. And they cooled down. नहीं बेटा नहीं तू चुप. हमें ऐसे थोड़ा बोला था, वो तो ऐसे ही बोल दिया था. ऐसा नहीं ठीक है, तू ठीक है, जो कर रहा है अच्छा कर रहा है, like that. My mother started counseling. And then they cooled down. And then I started, they ate prasadam and all that. Then I started explaining to them, okay, this is what it is. Please try to understand what I am doing. See the temple, such a nice temple, nice devotee. You speak to them. Why don't you understand what I am doing? So they spent some time, and by evening or maybe next day, they were convinced. They met devotees and they saw other things, and they were convinced, and they went back. That's a different thing. Others spoke to them a week later. They again came back fully charged because Dhammarudam people are there. All kind of people are, all kind of things are there in the media. So they were again scared and they again came back. But luckily, by God's grace, they accepted it. And since then, they have been very, very good. Although initially it was not palatable, not acceptable. But because they are religious, they are pious, they accepted it, and they have supported me wholeheartedly in my journey. So Sridham Prabhu, when first time I visited home, I was also scared because I was weak, and even devotees were scared. Okay, if he goes, who knows, because of his timid nature or weak this thing, what if there's a lot of pressure from the parents to stay back, what if he changes his mind? So Sridham Prabhu was my bodyguard to ensure nothing untoward happens and I safely return back to the temple. That was the reason why he accompanied me. Anyway, when devotees go, we generally go in pairs. So he accompanied me to my home. But fortunately, my parents received very well. We were given extraordinary hospitality. The Sridham Prabhu, when he came, he was treated very nicely because we had the culture of, serving the sadhus. I told you about Ritambara and this thing. So we were very nicely treated. They respected us quite well. They never spoke anything bad. And I salute them for whatever they are. They are wonderful parents. Yes.
1992. That's the year when you joined the temple. Hare Krishna Hill, ISKCON Bangalore temple has not fully come up. And you hail from northern part of India, and here you get rice, dal, not even roti sometimes. So how was the circumstances there?
It was a very different world. Now
Different
imagine this stage, whatever size you see, in this room, 12 devotees were staying. Bunker beds, one on top of each other. Between those beds, the gap was about 1 feet. So we were in that room, and then there was one pigeonhole for keeping our belongings. But somehow that environment was so spiritually enlivening that we never felt that it was an austerity. We never felt that it was uncomfortable. There was bathrooms which were very crude in that sense. So that was the thing, but I remember that it was very nice, very wonderful environment. The devotees were very good. And still I remember, even though we were staying in such crowded place, I still remember that culture, the environment, the devotees who were staying there, the kind of bonding we had, the kind of love we had, it was very nice. So that was the thing. And with respect to eating, I remember once when I was working with Kirloskar, I used to come every day. And for the officers category, it was a very big spread. Maybe that was part of employee engagement or this thing. There were some 12 to 15 items every day. Rice, dal, 3 sabjis, sweet, this thing. Whatever we call it as feast here, it was that feast every day. One day I came to Chanchalapathi Prabhu in the afternoon. I very proudly told him, Prabhu, in Kirloskar I am getting these many items. I counted the items. 1 rice, dal, 3 sabjis, salad, pickle, curds, raita, this thing. Now I wanted to show that I am a great devotee. So I told him, Prabhu, but all this is bhoga. I want to have prasadam in the temple. Can I come and take prasadam? Because it's nearby. Can I come in the afternoon and take prasadam with the devotees? So he told me, Amit, this prasadam is for full-time devotees. No, you cannot take it. This is for ashram devotees. No, you cannot take it. A big shock to me. I am from NIT. I am such a big student. I am big. This thing from. Why he is not allowing me? But my respect for him increased. He was straightforward. He said, prasadam, it is not that you just pay money and you will get it. You have to be entitled to get it. You should deserve it. Although he didn't use the word, but it's not that just because you pay money or you're a big man, you can get prasadam. So that was very touching. With respect to after joining, the prasadam was very simple. Every day, rice, dal, many times sambar, and 1 sabji. This was the menu. Luckily, I am not very quote-unquote particular about yahi chahiye khane mein. Some people are very particular, chapati hona chahiye and all that. Somehow days passed by, I was managing. A time came, I think 6 months over after joining, day after day, same rice, same dal, almost same sabji. So then I went to Chanchalapathi Prabhu. I said, Prabhu, can some chapati be made? It was very simple. The ashram was simple, the devotees were simple offering was done, and the feast was simple. Things have changed quite a lot. So then on my request, in the evening some chapatis were also made. So it was very, that way austere, but I think since it was quite spiritually enlivening atmosphere, I never missed it.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, you always mention that Lord has been very kind to me. Is the example which you cited or the reason for you which you feel so, or if anything else other than this, which if you wish to share, why you always tell Lord has been very kind to me? What do you mean by kind to me in that sense?
Even today when I was coming for this thing, I was saying that in everything, because some of the questions which I know you will be asking, the only answer I have is Lord is very kind to me. And it's a fact. If I look back, I strongly believe Lord has given me more than what I deserve. In every aspect of my life. Lord has been more tolerant with me, given everything to me more than what I deserve, and I really don't know why. Every aspect of my life, the Lord has helped me. And I always feel I am ungrateful. I always feel that, I don't deserve it. So it's Lord's Leela. What can I do? He has been very, very kind to me.
So gratefulness plays a very vital role. Most of your discourses and lectures, you always stress on being grateful. How important is for a devotee who's practicing Krishna consciousness inside the ashram, outside? What does gratefulness make to a person or devotee to grow further in Krishna consciousness? Why is it so important, bro? You always stress on this.
See, all of us are very fortunate. We are very, very blessed because we have this highest, matchless gift of Krishna consciousness. We have Prabhupada as our spiritual master. We have Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. We have Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Just that we have to count our blessings. And I think somewhere I have done it consciously. A lot of people, human psychology is that although we may have many good things, grass is greener the other side, and we end up focusing on what is not okay. Even if I am wearing this kurta, if there is one black spot, somehow your attention will go on that spot. Why Prabhu is wearing kurta with that black spot? He could have worn a different kurta. He's coming for this talk, maybe he would have worn a different kurta. So our attention goes on that. This is how our mind works. Even today morning when I was talking in the lecture, we were talking about don't find faults. Because it's a human psychology, we end up seeing what is not okay. So I will not give credit to myself. I have consciously worked on counting my blessings. I have done exercises where morning I would get up and write things which I am grateful for. I am grateful for holy name. I tell devotees, do this exercise. For 1 month, every day, write 5 things which you are grateful for and don't repeat those 5 things for the next full month, for 30 days. You'll be surprised. There's so many things Lord has given us. Food to eat, clothes to wear, eyes to see. They say, I was complaining, God, that I don't have these shoes. I don't have Reebok shoes. I don't have Nike shoes. Till I saw a person who does not have legs. We have taken our legs for granted. We have taken our eyes for granted. We have taken our clothes for granted. We are drinking water. We have taken it for granted. Think of a person who has to walk 2 miles to catch hold of water, a pitcher of water. So all of us have so much to be grateful for, so much to thank Lord for, but we always cribbing. Always finding, ye nahi hai, ye theek nahi hai, wo theek nahi hai. So that's why cultivating the attitude of gratitude is very important even for devotees. Otherwise, Lord will think, kitna to diya isko? Itna to diya hai, fir bhi abhari nahi hai. Fir bhi he is cribbing. So in my case, maybe I have done this exercise quite a bit. I genuinely feel the Lord has given me so much. I genuinely बोलने के लिए नहीं, दिखाने के लिए नहीं है, थोड़ा अपने आप को बड़ा डिवोटी साबित करने के लिए नहीं है. I genuinely feel that Lord is very kind, Lord is very merciful, He has given me so much, He has given me more than what I deserve. Therefore, when some injustice happen or somebody does not give me respect or does not give me this thing, it does not really matter to me. अगर दिया तो बहुत अच्छा, धन्यवाद, नहीं दिया तो भी धन्यवाद. हरे कृष्णा. That has been the attitude, and I think that has helped me quite a bit.
Prabhu, another question is, during that 90s period when we were building Hare Krishna temple on ISKCON Bangalore, you were in the service of fundraising, and you fondly remember few devotees who were relatively always performing better than you, and you learned something very wonderful. Would you like to share about that instance?
First,
Because
I would
most
like
of
to
our-
share something interesting. What made me again take the decision of joining full time?
Yes, bro.
See, always we have an impression that ISKCON temple में पैसों की कमी नहीं है, फॉरेन से फंड आता है. So I was also having that impression.
Yes.
So then when I came to the temple, I was assigned the service of implementing Tally software. Those days, Tally was a Bangalore-based company, and Tally is a very popular accounting software. They had just started. The software used to come on a floppy disk. So Chanchalapathi Prabhu told me, okay, we have bought this software, Tally, you implement it. And I was a software engineer, so they said that I may be the right person to implement it. So I took that seva. Every evening I used to come and sit with the accountant and all that. So because we have to implement the accounting software, so I had access to the bank statements and account books. So I always had the impression that they are lush with funds. 30 crore project. Some 20 crore will be lying in the bank. FDs will be lying in the bank. When I saw the account books, I was shocked. 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 rupees in accounts. And they're running such a big organization, building 30 crore temple. So one day I went to Madhu Pandit. Construction had just begun. The foundation, the pillars were getting raised. So I said, where will this 30 crore come from? Because I knew the
Accounts.
account statement, bank statement, kitna bank mein, kitna saving, kitna FD hai. I said, where will the money come from? So he said, Krishna will send. Don't worry, Krishna will send. Same thing happened many years later, because his faith is 100 times higher. So when Akshay Patra started in 2000, I was in the fundraising this thing. So they started with 1,500 children, Akshay Patra in 2000. And he announced in media that we are going to feed 30,000 children from now on. I went to Chanchalapathi, this Madhu Pandit Prabhu's office. I was heading the fundraising thing. Already people were talking about that, आप लोग पैसे के पीछे बहुत भागते हो. Everyone, जब भी मंदिर आओ तो donation करते हो. So I told him, see, already we have bad name. Already people are saying that this thing. You're putting more pressure. Why you want 30,000? There'll be so much of fund, 30,000 children every day, day after day. How much money will be required? I told him. I said, we want people to say कि हम लोग अच्छा भी काम कर रहे हैं, social work कर रहे हैं, थोड़ा नाम हो. 1,500 is okay, 2,000 is okay, 3,000 is okay. He said, Krishna will supply. We are not running the program. Krishna is running the program. Where 30,000 today, we are 22 lakhs. So it's a fact. It's a fact. All our projects. Actually, those who get involved, even in Akshay Patra, the trustees, they get scared sometimes. But the faith the devotee has is not because we have done the entire planning, we know how the money will come. We don't know. But Krishna has been so kind. Although there is no money, but whatever is required, whenever it is required, Krishna has been very, very kind, very, very merciful, and things are running. Many times we don't know how it is running, but it is running. The proof is right in front of us. Akshay Patra is running. Big, big temple projects. Although there is some delay, things are moving. So Krishna has been kind and things are moving. And that's how my faith also, faith is a contagious thing. When you are associating with devotees who have strong faith, then your faith also increases. So I think over the years, that strong faith, even Jaipur now, 170 crores, we are targeting 2027, the temple has to come up. How the money will come, I have no idea, but I know it will come. 2027, we'll see how it will come.
CC Prabhu's.
Yeah. So, Chitranga Prabhu, he was the number one fund collector, or rather, he used to collect the maximum. I was number 2. Always there is some transcendental competition. So I used to wonder, how is it that he is collecting more? His collection was, compared to all of us, quite a lot. So I used to ask him, how you do it? So he says, okay, morning I go, I pray to the Lord. He shared with me the prayer also. He said, Krishna and Balram, today I am stepping out. Please lead me to those devotees who are ready to do your seva today, not tomorrow.
Today. Conditions of life.
Lead. And no appointment, sit in the auto and start off. And suddenly, while he's going in auto, suddenly he'll tell her, stop here. And he would go into some office, and after 10 minutes walk out with a check, making him a member. So I wanted to copy that formula. And although we are competitors, transcendental competitors, but we are also friends. We want to help each other. So I told him, Prabhu, 1 week I'll come with you. So he said, okay, come. So I was very keenly watching what he is speaking, how he is introducing, how he is presenting membership. All that I made notes. I make notes. So I made notes. Every day evening I would come, I'll make notes. I would practice, rehearse that statement. Even the prayers, whatever he used to offer, did all that. Control C, Control V. And tried doing the same thing. Same way introduce, same way try to use that formula, same way. It did not work. It did not work. Then later on I realized it is not the formulas which work. It is what's in your heart, what you offer, what you want to offer to the Lord. How intense is your desire to offer to the Lord? That is a prime ingredient. Although formulas, skills, material skills have a place, but that's not the main thing. For Krishna, this 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, 100 crores, 50 crores, 20 crores is nothing. In Bombay, when I travel, every building which is coming up is 200 crores. Every building. So what is 200 crores for the Lord? Every project is 100 crores. Every site is 100 crores. What is 100 crores for the Lord? It's nothing. So Lord wants to teach us something very profound while we are doing service for Him. So sometimes we want to do the service, but we forget what the Lord is interested in. For the Lord, our purification, our spiritual growth is a much bigger project than the project what we are doing. So that's been a very big learning for me, that ultimately our intent should be pure, our devotion should be pure, and then Krishna will show us the way.
Prabhu, you always are eager to take guidance from Madhu Pandit Prabhu. Even after 3+ decades of service in Krishna consciousness, taken up a lot of leadership roles, have a say in the organization, but you always look upon Madhu Pandit Prabhu for his guidance and mentorship, even with Chanchalapathi Prabhu. So, how did you get that faith and conviction that even at this stage of your devotional service, you look upon them and take guidance for even the smallest in that sense? What is the specialty in Madhu Pandit Prabhu and Chanchalapathi Prabhu, which you can share the insider information about their personality and your dealings with them, where it has transformed your leadership abilities and as a person, as a devotee?
Madhu Pandit Prabhu, Chanchalapathi Prabhu, they are very special devotees. Although I may glorify them, they may not like it, more so in this kind of a forum. But I have interacted with them in very close quarters, very closely. Because initially when I joined, we were just 20 devotees. So daily we used to interact. They joined at a time when, it was a 2-bedroom flat. So their surrender, their devotion is much, much higher compared to us. We joined at a time when all around us, there were devotees from IIT, IISc and from prestigious college. We could relate with them. Quote unquote, we had a safe platform. An institution which was quote unquote stable. Where materially we are quote unquote safe. But they joined at a time when it was a 2 BHK house. Hardly any devotees, no name, nobody knows about ISKCON. So if we hear about their, surrender or the time in which you joined, it's different level altogether. And because definitely their surrender, their devotion is quite higher. We could see today whatever is manifesting is, they were the starting point in that. Although Prabhupada is our this thing, but our movement got to a next orbit because of their strong desire to serve Prabhupada. So that's why I always feel that, I'm indebted to them. And even the Guru issue, when it began, I somehow, let me share with you, somehow I don't like getting into debates, somebody is saying this point and trying to confront somebody with something. I don't like that, it's not my nature. So even the Guru issue, when there was a lot of intense discussion going on, this is correct, the Gurus, the camp, they are giving some position paper and then our paper and then the Ritvik paper and this and that, and the July 9th letter, it was being discussed for intensely. Somehow I did not get, although yes, I knew the Guru issue, so much discussion is happening, I did not get into it. But one thing was very clear. Although people were saying that Madhu Pandit Prabhu, this is property war and all that, but I could clearly see Madhu Pandit Prabhu just for the sake of Prabhupada's instruction. Because the temple had got built, already his reputation is at peak. Everyone, all the devotees from all over the world had come during the top leaders. So they were all glorifying Madhu Pandit Prabhu for what he has achieved, what he has done in Bangalore. Already Madhu Pandit Prabhu were invited in the GBC meetings those days in 1997. So he was about, in 1 or 2 years, he would have become a GBC member. Why would he fight with those GBCs for some temple or for some property? He would have power, he would have position, they would have even offered him to become a guru. And he is going and talking to them. Where is Prabhupada authorized you to become gurus? He is taking them head on. So he has all to lose. He has all to lose. Materially, nothing to gain. They will expel him, they will suspend him. Everything is there to lose only. But Prabhupada has instructed. The movement has gone through a lot of turmoil because the wrong system. So he stood up. And that I could very clearly watch close quarters. There was no selfish motive to fight this battle. And because of that purity, of that intent, we have come so far. And Lord has been very kind that we are going, our group is expanding and more centers are coming up and we are becoming stronger and bigger day by day. It's all because of their purity, their strength, their this thing. So I might sit with them in some meetings, GBC meeting, SC body meetings, and different meetings, temple body meeting and all that. But I might sit with them, I might talk to them as if I am their peer or co-member of a GBC, but heart of heart, I have great regards, great respect for them. I might even at times argue with them on some issues, but heart of heart, recently Madhu Prabhu called me for something. He says, okay, for this, I said, Prabhu, you decide. Because who am I to decide? Nothing is mine. I am just a caretaker. So that is the kind of respect I have, and they deserve it. It's not because I have to give that respect. They deserve it because of their stature, their devotion, their surrender.
Prabhu, in ISKCON Bangalore, when you were there until 2015, there was not even a single department of the temple you were not involved in it directly. Maybe most of them you were heading. So multiple such services were given to you, and you had the privilege and honor successfully conducting those departmental affairs for the service of the Lord. So how do you manage? How important is planning? How important it is to chalk out things? And you're called in our circle Excel Acharya or Google Sheet Masiha. How you know the art and commerce or science of getting things done through that. How it is relevant, important for an organization like us, or even otherwise as individual devotee, to use those tips and strategies to work on ourselves and enhance the quality of the service we render to Srila Prabhupada.
We are part of an organization and we are operating in this world. And our principle is Yukta Vairagya. We are not like Babaji sitting in Himalayas or like Naga Babas. We have to deal with this world. We have to manage an organization. We have to manage big festivals. And if you see, in the West, they are very well organized. When I went to Singapore first, then recently when I went to the US, it's very organized. They have planned the things nicely. You will not see in the streets, paper is thrown here and there. The trains come on time. The railway station is clean. It all does not happen automatically. Somebody is there planning. Somebody is there who is making an SOP, standard operating procedure. Somebody is there who is standardizing the processes. So we are also running an organization. We are also inviting thousands of people to come to our place. If we have to give them a good experience, we have no option but to have the right systems, right processes. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Already the world is running the processes. Running processes for an organization, maybe selling Coca-Cola, maybe selling some other product. But that processes we can apply. For example, this microphone. For example, this camera. This camera is not made to record this podcast. This camera is made, maybe people are using this camera to record some very wrong things. but we can use this camera to record a spiritual talk. So likewise, I strongly believe that these processes, systems which quote unquote karmis are using to manage their organizations, we can and we should use to run our organization, our temples efficiently for Krishna's pleasure. And with that intent, I have always tried my best to learn. I have no ego. I have gone and sat in seminars. I have attended programs where, quote unquote, the person may be karmi, he may be younger than me, he may be a smoker, but I have gone and taken notes. I have learned. Again, not to glorify me, I'm not saying because that knowledge is helpful. Standard operating procedures, how to make is helpful. All these tools, whatever people have, Salesforce software or different ERP, this thing is there. If we use it in Krishna service, we can do better seva. So that's the thing, and that's how I have learned these things and try my best to implement it. Although many times devotees are not happy with it, but I try.
Prabhu, one of your successful endeavors in spreading Krishna consciousness is the starting of folk. How did you get this acronym FOLK? How did we discover this? Who was responsible for this? Can you share how it was started off? And for the audience who are hearing this, Jagan Mohan Prabhu also used to attend his classes. Most of the leaders who are in our temple, managing temples, have attended Prabhu's classes. It's all because of the folk programs we are able to inspire youngsters to take up Krishna consciousness seriously. Prabhu is founder member of the folk in that sense, which has given a platform for youngsters to visit dhams, understand spiritual life in a very tangible way. Prabhu is known for such presentation of Krishna consciousness, the PPTs which he takes up, the videos, the examples, the case studies which Prabhu gives is all mind-boggling. Prabhu, in depth, if you can share with us how it started and what was the motive behind it and all the scenarios which you feel so.
Hello, my name is Harshit and I'm here today to share my journey with you guys. I've been practicing Krishna consciousness and have been a part of folk for about 5 years now. And even though I've had some pretty special moments in my life over the past 5 years, I successfully founded a startup during my engineering, and I've recently gotten admission in one of the top B schools in the country. But trust me when I say that nothing comes even close to the experiences that I've had by being a part of folk. Before joining folk, just like any average youngster, my life was also filled with a lot of distractions, and it was a daily challenge to be away from negative influences and bad habits. But everything changed when I embraced Krishna consciousness and the teachings that I got to learn of Lord Krishna while being a part of folk, that provided me immense clarity in my thought and provided me with a lot of focus in life. One of the most powerful lessons that I learned was the importance of controlling the mind. The Bhagavad Gita states that a controlled mind is a person's best friend, while an uncontrolled mind is its worst enemy. Through regular meditation and reading the scriptures, I, to a very great extent, was able to calm my mind down and gain a lot of focus on my goals as well. Folk has also taught me the importance of community and support. There's a principle that I love to follow, which is called the OQP principle, which is only quality people. So being a part of a community that shares the same spiritual goals and the same spiritual energy, that was really motivating for me. When I first myself started out in Krishna consciousness and became a part of folk, I was myself skeptical, like how is chanting or how are scriptures going to help me out. But one thing, thankfully, that I had observed early on is that if I wish to be a part of, the elite 1% of the world, I have to do what the other 99% of people aren't doing, and that's Krishna consciousness. And I'm a living example of the change that Krishna consciousness brings about in a person. And I myself see, the youngsters out there today indulging in a lot of bad habits and not having a lot of focus in life. Krishna consciousness is, I guess, the best solution out there for all of us. When I started chanting, I definitely witnessed a huge perspective shift in myself. My focus levels were up, my clarity in thoughts, and even my ability to handle failure, right? I feel all of that shoots up when you become a part of folk and engage yourself in Krishna consciousness. As I personally like to view Krishna consciousness as a huge storm, that takes away all your worries, takes away all your, let's say, unhappiness and all of that, and leaves you content and gives you a lot of focus in life. For anyone out there struggling with distractions or finding it difficult to find direction in life, I would encourage you to come and try out Krishna consciousness. Join folk. It has the power to transform your lives just like it has done mine. And I would love to take this opportunity to thank folk for all that they've done for me and for being a constant guiding light in my journey.